Hi everyone. Well, today I am doing an update on my hypothyroidism and my hormone issues I've kind of been having. I know I owe you guys an update. I cannot even remember when the last time I spoke about this. I think it was just kind of randomly in a vlog several months back. But anyway, it has been 3 years ago this month in August that I was finally diagnosed with hypothyroidism. I say finally because I had suffered probably, I would say about maybe 2 to 3 years before that, and had been to doctors, had blood work, of course. You know, you get that typical, oh, you're fine, you know, that a lot of people do. Unfortunately, so many people are out there suffering with this, and they get told they're fine by their doctor, or they're crazy because their labs come back within range, but yet they're still having symptoms, or maybe their doctor just doesn't know what to look for, what to test for. So it's really unfortunate because not only can hypothyroidism kind of mask other things, but it has so many symptoms that I find doctors kind of just want to give you a band-aid over each thing and kind of treat symptoms and give you a pill for this and that, instead of finding out the root cause is what's, you know, causing a lot of this. So I've done some videos on this here and there, but I just thought since this is 3 years and I've kind of got everything figured out right now, I thought this was a good time to update you guys, because I know a lot of you suffer with this as well. You know, I've gotten so many emails and comments, and I know along the way, so many of you have thanked me for just opening up this discussion and talking about it. So I appreciate you guys watching so much for that. I'm just here to kind of share my experience, what I've learned throughout the journey, so that maybe it can help you as well. So I had mentioned, I know the end of last year, I think in like my yearly favorites, there was a book that I recommend, and I still do. And if any of you ever look in the description box below where it says show more, there's always a lot of information in there, but I have been listing for quite some time now my favorite books on hypothyroidism. So I've kind of narrowed it down. I have read so many articles. I mean, I researched this basically to death, I feel like. And I'll touch on that in a moment too, is kind of why I feel like that's important. So I've read so many books. Some are good, some not, you know. Some of them you kind of have to weed through to kind of get the good information out of it. Some, you know, are just about authors or doctors wanting to toot their own horn, and that's kind of natural with a lot of books, you know, like that. But, you know, I always feel like I get something out of everything I've read. So I think I've narrowed it down to about 3 of them in the description box below. I highly recommend reading those, plus any others. I just find it really important to have all the information you can about this, because it really helps you have a conversation with your doctor. I feel like you as the patient need to be educated, especially on hypothyroidism, because so many general practitioners aren't. So speaking of that, I had first went to my gynecologist years ago and was like, you know, I thought maybe it was hormonal, you know, which it was too. You know, it's all connected basically. Ran some blood tests, everything was fine, you know, they shoo you on your way. And like I said, it just drives me crazy because that happens to so many people. And the more you research and kind of dig into it, you find that it's almost like an epidemic with people. You know, so many people are suffering, but their doctors tell them they're fine. So we moved in that process, you know, like I said, that's been several years ago. I mean, we've lived here now for 6 years, and this started happening a little bit before we moved. So 6+ years ago, you know, I started having symptoms, just got treatment 3 years ago. So finally found a doctor here. So I went to an endocrinologist. I have a video all about my getting diagnosed and kind of my first video on it. I'll link below. I know many of you have already seen that one, but a lot has changed since that. So I really wanted to do an update video. So I highly recommend, you know, finding a good endocrinologist or functional medicine doctor, which is who I see now, somebody that treats hypothyroidism, that knows about the endocrine system and how your thyroid works and how it affects every single thing, every single function in your body. Like, you really need to find a doctor. I cannot stress how important it is to find a correct doctor. And if your doctor's not working for you, well then guess what? Find another one, because I just feel like it's that important. I'm that passionate about it, because as someone who suffered unnecessarily for many years, you really do need to find a good doctor. So I started out my journey on Synthroid. I was just so happy to find a doctor that finally was like, yeah, I totally, you know, get what you're saying. Let's start you out on this and see what happens. So I will forever be grateful to that doctor for at least listening to me and getting me started, because Synthroid actually worked for me for about the first year or so, I'd say. And the more I researched later on, that's kind of typical with a lot of people, is that Synthroid will work and then all of a sudden it stops working. One thing I could say hands down that I found in all of my research, you know, book reading, just articles, doctors, everything, is that the generic version of Synthroid, which I'm not even gonna try to pronounce the word, which a lot of people are on, sometimes just, you know, due to what their insurance will cover, is not the best option for hypothyroidism. And the reason being is that there can be a lot of inactive ingredients with a generic, and those inactive ingredients are the ones that aren't as regulated, and they can change. And with something so delicate as your thyroid, you don't want that to change from dose to dose. So every dose you get, you need it to be, you know, as precise as it can be for, you know, you to function correctly. So that's one thing I highly recommend, is if you do have to take some form of Synthroid, at least try to get the name brand. There's also other drugs, which Synthroid is a T4 only drug, and then there's Cytomel, I believe it's a T3 drug. A lot of people take both together. I am now off of Synthroid and moved on to NatureThyroid. So Armor and NatureThyroid, or NatureThyroid, some people just say it either way, is a natural form of thyroid medication. And what in a lot of my research and a lot of doctors say, those are the two medicines that work the best for people. People find they feel better on. Now, of course, you could be on those medications and still not feel good, just like you could with Synthroid. That's the thing with thyroid, is everybody is so different. So what works for me may not work for you. It's such a fine-tuning game, and going in and getting your blood tested regularly, I can't stress that enough. I mean, you really need to get your blood tested regular. If you're someone who you're only going twice a year or once a year and you still don't feel good, you definitely need to talk to your doctor about it and get it tested more regularly. And again, I'm not going to go into so many specifics, and I feel like I've covered this a lot. And again, those books and research tell you exactly what test to ask for, what your ranges should be in the test, not only what the lab ranges say, because that's a whole other ballgame and whole other topic of lab ranges versus what normal ranges should be. I know it's kind of confusing, but if you have this, you probably get what I'm saying. So anyway, last year in August, so I've been seeing a new doctor for a year now. I've been going to a functional medicine doctor, and I had done some research about them, and I don't know why I couldn't find them or why I didn't know about them when I first went to see the endocrinologist 3 years ago, but I wish I had found him 3 years ago, because it would have saved me some headache. Even though I started feeling so much better just getting diagnosed and getting medication 3 years ago, you know, it led to a lot of ups and downs between that first year to now. So I've done some videos again on that in between, just kind of vlog style, sometimes saying, you know, I'm still not feeling good, I'm starting to have symptoms again, blah, 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 you know, some of my tests are a little off, sometimes they seem great. So I just went and had my blood work done. This is like twice in a row now, I think, I've had pretty great results. And I totally forgot I was going to bring my test results in here to share with you what they were, but my numbers are very optimal. My doctor is very happy. And I have to say, overall, I feel great. I do feel really good. I feel like the dosage is working for me. There's just some other hormonal issues that I'm going to talk about that kind of creep in that made me wonder sometimes if it wasn't still my thyroid. But looking into that further and talking with my doctor, it's not my thyroid, it's something else. So got my thyroid taken care of. I'm on an optimal dosage. You know, my T4 number is great. My T3 number is great. My TSH is great. You know, everything with that is really good, thankfully. You know, 3 years later after getting diagnosed, I'm finally like at an optimal level thanks to this new doctor. And it was funny when I researched them, some things about thyroid even came up, that they were fantastic in treating thyroid. So I was like, oh, hallelujah, you know, I'm gonna get somebody that knows what they're talking about. So I cannot stress that enough. Get yourself educated. There's no sense in not knowing all you can about hypothyroidism. There is so much information out there. You just have to go searching for it. And I want to touch on this because I have people sometimes ask me, no, I do not have autoimmune thyroid, so I do not have Hashimoto's. A lot of people that have hyperthyroid, that's where a lot of it comes from. You can get it, you know, starting about, you know, middle age, because everything kind of slows down, which means your thyroid slows down, your hormones slow down, all that. That's why a lot of people get it. But the majority of people, I think the number's like 80% actually get it being autoimmune disease, which that's a whole other ball game and a whole other list of topics. I've read books on that. You do need to take other precautions and do more if you are autoimmune, from what I've read, just because when your body's under stress, being autoimmune disease, it's attacking itself, which means your body has inflammation. So basically the number one thing you can do is cut out inflammation in your body. And again, there's all kind of books and things like that, and going gluten-free and dairy-free and all that. That's mainly, not saying it couldn't help everyone, you know, if that makes sense, because I've done it myself from time to time, but it's definitely important if you read the studies and the research of doing that if you are, have autoimmune thyroid, you know, meaning Hashimoto's. So, and I'm just talking about hypothyroidism, which means an underactive thyroid. I'm not talking about hyperthyroidism, which is overactive, or Graves' disease, which is the autoimmune version of overactive thyroid. Another key factor was getting my supplements key. And I know for a lot of, there's a list of key supplements that really affect people with hypothyroidism that you really need. It's not just your thyroid medication that you need to stay on top of, it's the supplements, because you can feel just as bad if you're not getting, you know, the correct B vitamins and vitamin D and all that. So I've actually upped my vitamin D per my doctor's request several months ago. I think I talked about it in a grocery haul possibly, where I'd shown you I was buying a higher dosage of vitamin D because I think my level was about 45 and he wanted it to be about 60 or so. I think it's around, it was 70 or so. So it's actually really good right now. So you can have all kind of symptoms if your supplements, you know, are not ideal as well. So again, a lot of thyroid books talk about supplements though and how important they are. Like, you know, selenium, like I said, your B vitamins, you know, good multivitamin, vitamin D, all that. It's covered in the books that I recommend. And so as far as like the other hormone issues, so again, I think I spoke in a vlog months back, a year ago maybe. I can't even remember when he started me on this. I was just saying that I was still having some hormonal issues, you know, just not sleeping good again, was starting to gain weight again. I thought it was my thyroid issues starting to creep back in. So we kind of did some investigating, and I've always mentioned I've had hormonal issues since, you know, I was a teenager. And then later on in life, knowing then there's no really official diagnosis for PMDD, but I'm definitely one of those people that had it. You know, the severe mood swings, the major cramps. That's always been my big thing, is horrendous cramps. I mean, like having a baby cramps, like, you know, where you have to go home from work, you have to go home from school, somebody had to come get me or whatever. You know what, you're going home early from work. So I mean, it affected my life. The only thing that ever helped that was being on birth control. Well, as you get older, and I've been on birth control for like, you know, I feel like half of my life, I've had a few mammograms come back where I had to have ultrasounds. So that's kind of been in the back of my head, where I don't want the birth control, you know, the synthetic hormones, one day giving me breast cancer or something else. So I've been off and on them over, you know, the last several years, just trying to figure out, do I still need them anymore? What's going on with my body? I might be fine for a few months and then it goes right back to all the symptoms. So my doctor put me on progesterone, and I am on a natural progesterone pill. We started out at 100 milligrams, taken 10 days, you know, the latter part of my cycle. That really didn't seem like it was doing anything, so he upped it to 200 milligrams. I feel like that kind of comes and goes. Sometimes I feel like it's working, sometimes not. It does help me sleep better. And I know in a video before, some of you had said, oh, it sounds like you have perimenopause symptoms, which could be, but it's the more I have tracked everything, I don't really think it is yet. And that's why he didn't put me on other hormones. They actually do bioidentical hormones there, and you can get the little pellet and, you know, pills, all kind of things. I'm really not at that stage yet, because when I was talking to him, I'm really not having the symptoms of perimenopause yet. You know, I'm not having a lot of hot flashes. I don't have heavy periods. I don't have, you know, just everything like that. Mine is definitely cycle related, as I have sat down and really looked at it. And what I've often said, I feel like I only have a couple good weeks in the month. And then the latter part of the month, you know, as it gets closer to starting, you're like, I just feel like unmotivated, I'm tired, like I don't want to do anything, I don't, you know, I'm just not interested in anything. It's like you feel, then that kind of, you know, it's almost like a dull, like a slight depression, you know, my anxiety goes up. And then as soon as I start my period a couple days, then I'm fine. Well, it turns out that, you know, in doing some specific research and talking with my doctor, it's like you do definitely, there is a chemical imbalance that happens in some people more than others. That's why some people don't have PMS, but PMS is a real thing. And then you add, you know, some other symptoms on top of it. That's what it can really be life changing kind of during the month for some people. And I'm one of those people. There definitely is a chemical imbalance once your estrogen starts dropping mid-month, and it is a chemical reaction in your brain, apparently. So it is no joke why you might crave things, why you may feel sad or depressed or angry, you know, anxiety, all that. And then, you know, it's fine once, you know, once the cycle starts back up again. And you know, for most of us, our cycle's like every 28, 30 days roughly. Mine's very regular, so that's another reason why I knew nothing was going on. My cycle's still very regular, even without, you know, being on the pill or anything. So I feel like sometimes the progesterone helps that, but then I'm not really sure how much. And I'm not sure if that's still something that is going to need to be regulated. Because I kind of question sometimes, does the progesterone make the symptoms now worse? Like it might help with like lighter periods and possible like that with cramps and things and sleeping, but does it make the anxiety, the feeling blah, the no motivation, does it make that worse? Anyway, there's like all kind of research about it. It's very fascinating to me. And maybe it's fascinating because I'm wanting to learn about it, you know, because it's happening to me. But there definitely, you know, is a correlation with your progesterone and your estrogen levels going up and down throughout the month with how you feel. And again, some people, it does not affect them like others. I'm one of those people, it affects me a lot, and as I've gotten older, I notice the effects more, and I'm very in tune with it now. I'm very aware because I'm trying to track it, saying, okay, what do I need to do? Why all of a sudden do I feel like this? And I'll look on the calendar or something, or notice, I'm like, oh, sure enough, you know? So it's like, oh, I'm fine, and then not. So I'm still trying to tweak that possibly. I don't go back for another 6 months, and I'll see between now and then what's going on, if maybe I need to add something in, you know, that latter part of the month to maybe help alleviate some of those symptoms. Maybe there's supplements or something, or we can tweak, you know, the estrogen and progesterone level a little bit. But that's just kind of what my story is and my progression with, you know, any little hormone imbalances, you know, just trying to figure out everything that's going on. I probably notice things more than most people because I do feel so good now that my thyroid is balanced and my hormones are pretty much in balance for the most part, you know, for half of the month, that when all of a sudden then that shifts and you don't feel good for like those 7 or 10 days, you're like, man, you know, you really notice. It's like, I want to feel that great as I do, you know, all the time. Like I want to feel that way every day. And it's one of those, I don't want to wake up thinking, oh, do I feel good today? Do I not feel good? You know, I just want to wake up and just be like, oh, this is great, and get everything I want done and not worry about how I feel. It's a little bit of a work in progress, but for the most part, we've got a lot of things tweaked. And I feel like there's just so much information and so much information in my head to try to get out to you guys that it's hard to do in a video. So if you guys want me to touch on anything more specific, or supplements or anything like that. And again, with the supplements, a big thing from day one, my new doctor put me on is adrenal support. It's very crucial if you have hypothyroidism. They go hand in hand. If your thyroid is slowing down, your adrenals are probably stressed, and then you're producing more cortisol, and that just puts your body under stress, you know, all kind of things like that. You know, I could go into a big thing about it, but so that's something to talk with your doctor about as well, because you could be treating your thyroid, but if you're not treating your adrenals as well, you may also still not be feeling optimal. So again, I hope you found this helpful. Just wanted to update you guys on what's going on. For the most part, I'm feeling great. It's just those little cycle hormones, you know, once in a while they're still getting me down, but the thyroid is doing really well, and I'm feeling overall so much better and just so much more positive in the outlook of my health as well, knowing that it's taken care of and I found a good doctor. So again, if you guys have any questions, want me to touch on anything specific that I forgot, because obviously I can start rambling about certain things, don't forget the books, you know, in the description box. I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch, and we'll see you next time. Bye.